kids laughing, lockers slamming, everyone rushing to their next class. But down one crowded hallway, something was wrong. A smaller boy was cornered by a bigger kid, his back against the cold lockers. He looked scared, hoping someone would step in, but no one did. Then, out of nowhere, Elon Musk's son X appeared, walking calmly through the chaos. His eyes caught the scene, and without thinking twice, he moved toward them. X stepped right between the bully and the smaller boy, standing tall even though he was just a kid himself. The hallway suddenly fell quiet, like everyone was holding their breath. The bully sneered, trying to push past, but X didn't budge. His voice was calm but clear. "Hey, leave him alone." There was no anger, just steady courage. Jonathan Roumie happened to be nearby, watching quietly. He saw something real, not just a fight, but a moment where kindness stood up to cruelty. The bully blinked, surprised by the unexpected resistance. For a second, the bravado slipped away, replaced by uncertainty. Slowly, the bully stepped back, and the smaller boy let out a shaky breath, his eyes filled with relief. The crowd started to murmur, amazed at what had just happened. X smiled softly, offering a hand to the boy. It wasn't just about stopping the bullying. It was about showing him he wasn't alone. But what happened next, the very next day, would change everything. No one saw it coming. Before we continue, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. The next morning, the school buzzed with whispers. Everyone knew about what happened in the hallway yesterday, how Elon Musk's son stood up for someone else. But no one expected the ripple effect it would cause. Suddenly, the boy who was bullied wasn't invisible anymore. People looked at him differently, with respect. X quietly sat down at his usual table, but few kids approached him, shy smiles on their faces, saying things like, "That was brave, and thanks for what you did." Jonathan Roumie, who'd been watching, saw more than just a kid defending another. He saw a spark, a moment where kindness began to spread like wildfire. Word traveled fast. Even teachers started to notice a change in the halls. Less tension, more students helping one another in small, unexpected ways. The boy who had been bullied walked a little taller, even laughing with classmates he'd never spoken to before. It was as if X's small act of courage gave him new strength. At recess, X found the boy again. This time, they played together. No fear or shame, just two kids sharing a moment that felt bigger than schoolyard drama. Jonathan quietly approached X after class, his eyes filled with admiration. "You did something important today, kid," he said, "more than you might realize." X shrugged, modest but proud. "I just did what felt right. No one should feel scared at school." His words echoed like a quiet call for change. But little did anyone know, what happened that day was only the beginning of something much bigger. Something that would touch hearts beyond the school walls. That'd be why the third day, the school started to feel different. Posters about kindness and standing up for one another began to appear in every hallway. The principal called a special assembly, gathering all the students to talk about respect, courage, and the power of small actions to change lives. X stood quietly in the back, watching the crowd, knowing the real change wasn't just in words, but in what everyone was beginning to believe deep down. The boy who was bullied stepped forward during the assembly, nervously sharing his story. He thanked X for standing up, saying it gave him hope he hadn't felt before. Tears filled eyes across the room, from students, teachers, even Jonathan Roumie, who felt something rare and beautiful unfolding right before him. It wasn't just about one fight or one act of bravery. It was about creating a culture where every person could feel safe, valued, and seen. From that day forward, kindness became contagious. Students began checking in on each other, standing up against bullying, and forming friendships that crossed old divides. X didn't seek the spotlight. He just kept being himself. But his small moment of courage had become a symbol, a reminder that one person can make a difference. Jonathan smiled quietly, knowing the real story wasn't about fame or fortune, but about the simple power of a good heart. And the story was far from over. What started in one hallway was about to inspire a movement no one could have predicted. The days rolled on, and the energy in the school shifted. Students started forming groups where kindness and respect weren't just ideas, they were daily actions. X found himself surrounded by new friends. Kids who once kept to themselves now joined in, smiling, sharing, and helping one another. Without hesitation, Jonathan Roumie noticed how even the toughest kids softened, showing unexpected acts of generosity and compassion that surprised everyone, including themselves. Teachers began to tell stories of students defending classmates, stopping bullying before it started, and standing together in solidarity like never before. X's bravery sparked more than just courage. It ignited a sense of community, reminding everyone that no one has to face hard times alone. One afternoon, during a group project, the boy who was once bullied looked at X and said, "You didn't just save me that day. You changed how I see myself." That moment, simple and sincere, captured the heart of what was happening. A quiet revolution fueled by empathy and understanding. Jonathan smiled, thinking how often the biggest changes come from the smallest moments. A hand reached out, a voice spoken calmly in the chaos. As the school embraced this new spirit, the community outside began to notice. Parents, neighbors, even local leaders started asking what was happening inside those halls. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones that remind us of our shared humanity and how love can transform even the hardest places. That by the end of the week, the school wasn't just a place for lessons. It had become a home where kindness lived and grew every day. X's simple act of standing up rippled through the community, inspiring students to believe in themselves and in the good around them. Jonathan Roumie quietly shared the story with friends outside the school, hoping it would remind others that real change starts with a single brave heart. The boy who was once bullied smiled freely now, surrounded by friends and a new sense of belonging he never thought possible. Parents began telling stories of their kids coming home happier, more confident, and talking about the difference a little kindness can make. And through it all, X kept his humble spirit, not looking for praise, but quietly knowing that sometimes courage means simply doing the right thing. As the sun set behind the school, laughter echoed down the streets, a sound of hope, healing, and a future shaped by compassion. Jonathan looked on, thinking about how one moment can change everything, how one child's courage can rewrite a story that seemed already written. And this was just the beginning. The world needed more stories like this, stories that show even the smallest light can shine in the darkest places. Because when we stand together, when we choose kindness, there's nothing we can't overcome. And sometimes, that's the greatest lesson of all. The spirit of kindness didn't fade. It grew stronger each day. Classrooms that once felt tense now buzzed with laughter and cooperation. Teachers noticed that students listened more closely, helped one another with homework, and even spoke up when they saw someone alone or struggling. X, usually quiet and observant, was now a natural leader, not by demand, but by example, inspiring others to choose empathy over indifference. Jonathan Roumie stopped by one afternoon, surprised by the warmth filling the school, a place transformed by something so simple yet so powerful. He quietly told X, "You're doing more than anyone imagined." Sometimes, being brave means just being kind when it's easier not to be. X smiled, his eyes shining with a quiet strength. "I just want everyone to feel like they belong. That's all." Word spread beyond the school, reaching families who began sharing their own stories of small acts that brought hope and healing. Parents organized neighborhood meetings to talk about supporting their children and creating safer, kinder communities. And in the school, The boy who had been bullied was now helping others, paying forward the kindness he once received. It was clear. The ripple of one courageous moment had turned into a wave of love that refused to stop. One afternoon, the students decided to plant a kindness garden, a symbol of their growing community and the hope they all shared. With every seed planted, they talked about growing more than flowers. They were growing trust, friendship, and a future where no one felt alone. X handed a small shovel to the boy he once saved. Their hands met briefly, a silent promise that they were in this together. Jonathan watched from afar, moved by the scene. Young hearts choosing to nurture something beautiful in the middle of a world that can feel so harsh. Teachers and students gathered around the garden, each sharing stories of kindness they had experienced or witnessed in recent weeks. It wasn't just a school project, it was a movement, a daily reminder that everyone has the power to make the world a better place. X's courage had inspired more than just his peers. It inspired adults to look at their own actions and ask, how can I be kinder? The garden became a place of healing, laughter, and connection, a symbol of how hope grows from the smallest acts of care. Jonathan felt honored to witness this transformation, a lesson in humanity from children teaching the grown-ups what truly matters. And as the sun set over the blooming garden, everyone knew this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. Soon, the story caught the attention of a local news team, curious about what was behind the school's incredible transformation. The principal spoke proudly about how one brave act sparked a chain reaction of compassion and respect throughout the entire school. Students, including X and the boy he helped, shared how standing up for each other changed their lives in ways they never expected. The reporter asked X what motivated him, and with a simple smile, he said, "I just wanted to do the right thing." That answer resonated deeply with viewers, sparking conversations in homes and social media feeds across the community. Parents called the school, thanking teachers and students for reminding them that kindness can start anywhere, even in a single hallway. The boy who was bullied spoke of newfound confidence and friendship, inspiring others who might be struggling to hold on. Jonathan Roumie watched the news report, moved by how far the story had traveled, proof that good deeds truly can echo beyond expectations. The school became a beacon of hope, reminding everyone that change begins with courage, empathy, and the willingness to stand for others. And as the story spread, one thing was clear: the power of kindness had no limits. Inspired by the movement, students began writing letters to each other, their families, and even strangers, sharing stories of hope and encouragement. X carefully wrote a note to the boy he had saved, reminding him that he was never alone and always valued. The boy smiled as he read the letter, feeling the warmth of friendship and the strength to face whatever challenges came next. Letters poured in from all directions, each one a small but powerful reminder that love can break through walls of fear and loneliness. Teachers used these letters in class, encouraging students to share their own stories and listen with open hearts. Jonathan Roumie encouraged more kindness projects, knowing that each word and action created ripples far beyond what anyone could see. Parents noticed their children growing more confident and compassionate, eager to help others just as they had been helped. And in this circle of giving and receiving, a new culture took root, one where everyone's voice mattered and every act of kindness counted. X looked around at his friends, grateful for the simple truth that sometimes the smallest gestures can make the biggest difference. Because in the end, kindness isn't just a word. It's a way of life that can change the world, one heart at a time. To celebrate their journey, the school hosted a community day filled with laughter, music, and stories, a joyful gathering of hope and unity. Parents, teachers, and students came together, sharing food and memories, reminding everyone that kindness is strongest when we stand united. X stood with Jonathan Roumie, watching the smiles all around, proof that even the smallest acts can grow into something beautiful. The boy who was once bullied played freely, surrounded by friends who saw him not as a victim, but as a shining example of resilience. Speeches were made, thanking X for his courage and reminding the community that each of them had the power to create change. The principal announced plans to keep the kindness movement alive, encouraging everyone to carry it beyond the school and into their lives. Jonathan said quietly to X, "You've done something incredible here. You showed the world what it means to be a true hero." X simply smiled, knowing that real heroism is about standing up for others, even when no one is watching. As the sun set on the celebration, a promise was made to keep kindness alive, to keep standing up, and to never forget the power of one brave heart. And with that promise, the story wasn't over. It was just beginning, ready to inspire the next chapter of hope and courage. Days after the community event, X found himself helping a younger student struggling with his shoes, a small act, but full of genuine care. That simple moment captured the heart of the school. Kindness wasn't just a project anymore. It was a way of living for everyone. The younger boy looked up at X with admiration, inspired to be just as thoughtful and brave when the time came. Jonathan Roumie, observing quietly, realized this was more than a story of one heroic act. It was a chain of small kindnesses linking generations. Teachers noticed the change too. Classrooms were calmer, friendships deeper, and students more willing to stand up for each other. The school began celebrating Kindness Day each month, where every student shared stories of compassion and courage. X often spoke up during these gatherings, reminding everyone that real strength comes from loving and protecting others. The boy who had once been bullied now led by example, volunteering to help younger students feel safe and included. Parents shared stories of their own children's growth, grateful for a school environment that nurtured both heart and mind. And through it all, the message was clear: kindness isn't just an action, it's a powerful force that changes lives quietly and profoundly. Walking home one afternoon, X noticed a group of students who usually kept to themselves, now laughing and sharing stories together. It was a small shift, but one that showed how deep the ripple of kindness had spread across the school community. Jonathan Roumie, catching up to the group, smiled knowingly. He had seen the power of genuine connection transform even the loneliest hearts. X shared a story about the day he stood up for a classmate, encouraging his friends to never stay silent when someone needs help. The group listened intently, their faces lighting up with hope and determination to carry kindness forward in their own lives. Parents began organizing after-school clubs focused on empathy and leadership, empowering students to make positive choices every day. Teachers saw their students growing more confident, not just academically, but as compassionate human beings ready to face the world. The boy once bullied now volunteered as a mentor, helping others find their voice and courage in moments of struggle. X's quiet leadership inspired many, a reminder that true strength comes from lifting others up, not tearing them down. And as the sun set on their walk home, the laughter of those students echoed a promise to keep kindness alive, always. The school and community came together to create a mural, a colorful, vibrant tribute to unity, hope, and the power of kindness. X and his friends carefully painted side by side with parents and teachers, each brushstroke telling a story of growth and healing. Jonathan Roumie joined the event, moved by how art could capture the spirit of change born from courage and compassion. The mural featured images of hands holding, hearts shining, and a quote, "Kindness is the language everyone understands." It became a symbol, a daily reminder to every student and passerby that kindness can break through even the hardest walls. Teachers used the mural as a teaching moment, encouraging students to reflect on how their actions shape the world around them. Parents proudly watched their children, grateful for a school that nurtured not just minds but the hearts of future leaders. X felt proud too, not because of the attention, but because kindness had become something everyone could share and grow. The mural was more than paint on a wall. It was a promise to keep hope alive, even in challenging times. And as the final brushstrokes dried, the community knew this was a beginning, a new chapter of unity and love unfolding. One rainy afternoon, X noticed a classmate struggling to cross a flooded path. Without hesitation, he offered his hand to help. That small moment, simple yet powerful, reminded everyone that kindness isn't grand gestures, it's showing up for each other, no matter the weather. Jonathan Roumie, watching from a distance, saw the genuine care that had transformed the school culture into something rare and beautiful. The boy who had been bullied once again showed his strength, helping younger students stay safe and dry as they made their way home. Teachers praised the students for their compassion, reminding them that empathy is a skill that changes not just others, but ourselves too. Parents noticed their children becoming more thoughtful, looking out for one another in ways they hadn't before. X quietly continued to lead by example, proving that kindness is contagious and begins with small choices every day. The school's reputation for warmth and acceptance grew, attracting more families who wanted their children to learn. In such an environment, Jonathan reflected on how a simple act of courage had sparked a wave of love, turning strangers into friends. And in the gentle rhythm of rain, the community found a new song, one of hope, care, and lasting connection. At a school retreat, students and teachers gathered around a crackling campfire, sharing stories that revealed the power of kindness in their lives. X spoke about the day he chose to stand up for a bullied classmate, how it changed his view of courage forever. Others shared their own moments, times they overcame fear to help someone else, inspired by the example set by their peers. Jonathan Roumie listened, moved by the deep honesty and warmth in the circle, a community united by love and bravery. The boy who was once bullied told his story of transformation, from fear to confidence, all thanks to one kind act. Teachers encouraged students to carry these stories forward, to be beacons of kindness wherever life took them next. Parents joined in, sharing how this culture of empathy had healed wounds and brought families closer together. X looked up at the stars, feeling grateful for the journey, a journey that had only just begun. And as the fire flickered in sparks, danced skyward, a quiet promise was made, to always choose kindness, no matter what. Because sometimes, the smallest light can guide the darkest night, and the bravest hearts make all the difference. X and his friend planted a tree together, a symbol of growth, resilience, and new beginnings for their whole school community. Each seed they planted held hope, reminding everyone that kindness grows slowly but bears the sweetest fruit over time. Jonathan Roumie stood nearby, reflecting on how far these young hearts had come, from pain to healing, from silence to strength. Teachers joined in, sharing stories of how the small acts of courage inspired by X had blossomed into a school-wide movement. Parents looked on proudly, knowing their children were learning more than academics. They were learning to nurture one another. The boy who was once bullied now helped care for the garden, a living testament to the power of kindness and second chances. X smiled quietly, feeling a deep sense of purpose. This was bigger than him, bigger than any one moment. The tree stood tall and strong, a reminder that change begins with just one brave step forward. Jonathan realized this story wasn't just about bullying. It was about the power we all have to transform lives. And as the sun set on the garden, hope took root, strong, steady, and ready to grow for years to come. The school held a special assembly called Be Kind, where students shared what kindness meant to them and how it changed their lives. X spoke first, sharing the story of how standing up for a friend had opened doors to a kinder, more caring community. His words struck a chord, inspiring others to stand a little taller and speak up a little louder for what's right. Jonathan Roumie watched from the back, moved by the courage and unity radiating from the room. Teachers invited everyone to pledge to carry kindness forward every day, not just in school, but wherever life took them. Parents applauded their children's growth, proud that empathy had become a shared value, not just a lesson. The boy once bullied led a group cheer, a powerful symbol of how far he had come and how much further they could go together. X's message was clear. Kindness is a choice, a strength, and the greatest gift we can give each other. The assembly ended with smiles, hugs, and a shared promise to keep the ripple of kindness spreading far beyond the school walls. And in that room filled with hope, everyone knew that together they could create a world where no one would feel alone. Beyond the school, X and his friends took their kindness to the community, volunteering at a local center to help those in need. Their hands served food, their smiles offered hope, and their presence reminded others that kindness knows no boundaries. Jonathan Roumie joined the effort, witnessing firsthand how compassion could bridge divides and lift spirits. The boy once bullied now took the lead, organizing activities that brought joy and connection to families in tough times. Teachers and parents followed suit, proud to see the school's values lived out beyond the classroom. X's journey from standing up to a bully to leading kindness in the community showed how small actions can spark great change. Each smile shared, each hand held, made clear that kindness was more than a word. It was a way of life. Jonathan felt hopeful, knowing this new generation carried the torch of empathy and courage forward. And as the day ended, the community center buzzed with warmth, proof that kindness, once sown, grows beyond expectation. In that moment, the future looked brighter than ever, lit by the hearts of those who dared to care. Back at school, a new banner hung proudly in the gym. Kindness is our superpower, a daily reminder for all students. X smiled every time he saw it, knowing it wasn't just words, it was a truth they all lived by. Jonathan Roumie admired how the school's culture had shifted from fear and silence to courage and care. The boy once bullied now stood tall as a symbol of transformation, proof that kindness truly changes lives. Teachers incorporated kindness into every lesson, reminding students that their actions could light up even the darkest days. Parents celebrated the progress, knowing their children were growing up in a place that valued heart above all else. X's quiet leadership continued to inspire, showing that true strength is found in lifting others, not tearing them down. The school's reputation for compassion attracted new students, eager to be part of something bigger than themselves. Jonathan reflected on the journey, how one small act of bravery had sparked a wave of love and hope. And as the banner swayed gently in the breeze, the message was clear. Kindness was their superpower, and they would never let it go. Years later, X and his friends stood side by side, smiling as the school celebrated a legacy of kindness and courage. Their journey from a painful past to a hopeful present had touched every heart, inspiring generations to come. Jonathan Roumie watched proudly, knowing this story would live on, a testament to the power of compassion and bravery. Teachers and parents cheered, grateful for the young leaders who showed that kindness truly changes everything. The boy who had once been bullied now stood as a mentor and friend, proof that change is always possible. X's quiet strength continued to guide others, reminding them that every small act matters in building a better world. The school had become a sanctuary, a place where every child felt seen, heard, and loved. And as the crowd celebrated, a promise echoed through the halls to always choose kindness, no matter the challenge. Because sometimes The bravest hearts come from the most unexpected places, and their light can change the world. And so, this story ends, not with an ending, but with a new beginning, full of hope, love, and endless kindness. What did this story teach you about the power of kindness and courage? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And where are you watching this video from? Drop your location in the comments below. If this story inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories that remind us of the difference we can all make.